Hi teachers! In this video, I will show you two main ways that you can easily use Jamboard as exit tickets in your classroom. Jamboard is a Google app that is pretty much a digital whiteboard. No matter what kind of classroom you're in, if your students have a device, you can totally implement the use of Jamboard. I'm currently in a blended or hybrid style classroom where I have students in person and online at the same time. Jamboard has really helped make my lessons a lot more interactive with all the students, online and offline, and I still see myself using Jamboard even after we go back 100% on campus. I hope that this video will give you some ideas and inspire you to use Jamboard in your classroom as well. So there are two main ways that I use Jamboard as exit tickets. I call them the post-it method and the personal jam method. Let's talk about the post-it method first. With this method, pretty much anything that you would do in the classroom, where you might have students write something on a post-it note, you can replicate that experience on Jamboard. Before I go any further, just a quick disclaimer. With this method, to get the same experience, you will have to share the link and allow your students to edit. There are a lot of recommendations out there about the number of students you should allow on Jamboard at a time. Since you are the classroom teacher, you are the best person to make that judgment for your class. Personally, I share with all of my fourth graders at the same time. Yes, there were some issues in the beginning when we first started using Jamboard. However, we used those experiences to set clear expectations and consequences for misuse of Jamboard. We also use that as an opportunity to come up with a system and routine on how to use it. I haven't had any problems since. I also wrote a blog post on Jamboard management that I will put the link in the description box down below if you would like to read more. Back to the post-it method. Well, first, you have to create a new Jamboard. You can do that by going to your Google Drive, open to your desired folder, and then click this big giant plus sign that says New. And if Jamboard doesn't appear right here, you will just go to More and then click on Jamboard. Now that you have your Jamboard open up, you can create your exit ticket. You can post a question in the center or just simply ask your students a question and let them respond using the sticky function. The sticky function is going to be on the left side toolbar, and this is what it looks like. I'll talk more about it in just a moment. Let me first show you how I typically would pose a question on Jamboard. Just come to the left toolbar and click on the text box. Then you can type in any question you would like. After that, you can adjust your text box to look the way you want it to look. I like to have my question aligned in the center, so I would go up here to the upper toolbar and click on Align, then click Center Align, and then move it to where you want. You can also go up here to the text color and change your font color. There's only 6 different colors available as of now. And then you can also adjust the size of your text using this button right here. Hopefully in the future, Google will add more features to allow us to change the type of font we use on our Jamboard and add more colors, but it works for now. I also like to add a shape around my question just to make it stand out. And again, you can come to the left side of the toolbar, click on the shape, and I like to use a circle. Okay, so create your circle and then click on the little 3 dots, come down to order, and then select send to back. Then you can adjust the shape however you want. There you go. Now you have your exit ticket. If you are nervous about your students accidentally selecting the shape or the question and deleting it, you can also turn the exit ticket that you just created into a template by downloading it as an image and uploading it back into a background. So let me show you how. You're going to go to the top right hand corner and click on the 3 dots that says More Actions. You're going to click on Save Frame as Image, and then it will download the file to your computer. Now that you have the image, let's go ahead and upload it into a background. So I'm going to create a new frame so you can see what it looks like. Then click on Set Background and then click on Image. There is a plus sign with a little image icon. You can now browse your computer to find the image you want, or if you have your image downloaded into the bottom area, you can just drag it, and there you go. Now, there's no way that your students can accidentally click and delete this board. If someone accidentally wrote something, you can easily just click Clear Frame and the marks will disappear, but your question will still be there. You can also use Google Slides to create your exit ticket template if you want it to look nicer. All right, now that you have your exit ticket ready, it's time to let your students join. How do you do that? You have to go to the top right-hand corner, click Share, and then you will have to click on Change to Anyone with Link. Now, anyone with link means anyone on the internet with this link can come into your Jamboard and edit. If you click on Restricted and you are on a district server, then your students will have to sign into their school account to be able to access the Jamboard. This is also helpful in a way where when your students enter your Jamboard, you can actually see who they are. If you just use anyone with the link, your students will appear as cute animal icons on your Jamboard. I just use anyone with the link just to make it faster. And since I have already set clear expectations and we talked about consequences, I trust that my students would not misuse Jamboard. And then you just have to change this to editor, copy the link, and you can share your link in the chat during your virtual meeting, different classrooms online. If you have a platform online, you can share it there as well. Now for your students, they will have to go to the left toolbar and click on Sticky Note. The text box will pop up and then your students can type in their responses. And they can change the color of their sticky note. For now, we'll use yellow and click Save. All right. Once they click Save, their sticky note will pop up. Something to note here is that once a student posts a sticky note, it will always pop up on the left-hand corner of the frame. This can be a problem when your whole class are posting sticky notes. The best thing to do is to come up with a system and routine for your students. My students agreed to always move their post-it or their sticky note on the edges of the frame right away. And we try to fill out the edges first to prevent Jamboard traffic. You can also play with the use of post-it or sticky note colors. Here's an example of a quick cause and effect exit ticket that I did in class, where my students have to post a cause and effect that they remembered from the text we read together. They used yellow for cause and blue for effect. Here I can easily see who I would need to go back and review cause and effect with. Another tip is to set a timer and disable the editing function once the timer is up. This is how you disable the editing function. Click Share again. Go to the top right-hand corner and click Share. Then go to where it says Get Link, click Change, and where it says Editor, you're just going to change it back to Viewer. And then click Done, and now your students won't be able to come back and change or edit what they have posted. It also pushes kids to write down their thoughts and not wait to see the answers from their peers. You might not have this problem, but I've had some students who are not quite confident. They wanted to wait to see what their classmates would write first before they write their own exit ticket. This will help prevent that. Now we can move on to the personal jam method. In this method, it is where students get a frame to themselves. It's perfect for math word problems, writing responses, or showing understanding in subjects like science. Once you have your template the way you want it, you're ready to go. So let me show you how you can create a template. You can use a template that you have already. So for example, this is my KWO chart that I have for free on my TPT store. If you have this template already, you can just simply select the style that you like. I suggest creating a copy first by going to the top right hand corner and click on the 3 dots and make a copy. Change the name for students. And then once it has loaded, you're going to select the template that you want. So for example, I only want this the template number 1, so I'm going to go and delete the rest. Okay. All right, now I have the template that I want. If you have a Google Classroom, you can just stop here and go assign this Jamboard to your students. Google Classroom will automatically create a copy for each of your students. However, if you don't have a Google Classroom like me, you can still use the personal jam method. My district is using a different platform as our virtual classroom, so this is how I use it in my class. Once I have the template that I want, I can just click here, go to the very top where you can see the frame and the frame numbers. Then you click the little arrow pointing downwards, and then don't click on plus and add frame because you will just get a blank frame. We'll delete that. Click on the 3 dots and click duplicate, and it will duplicate, create an exact copy of what you have created. So we're just going to keep duplicating. Okay. Until you have the desired amount of frames that you need. To create a template on your own, you can simply use a snipping tool if you are using a PC. The snipping tool will allow you to snip a problem or a text that you want to give to your students. Let me show you an example. So for example, I have these task cards from my TPT store that I want to use with my students. So let's say I want my students to solve this problem. I will just go to my snipping tool, select new, and then just simply drag it to where I want to snip, and then click file, or I can just click save right here. Documents, and let's save it in Jamboard, YouTube, task card. All right, so now that I have my task card, I will go back to my Jamboard and again click set background, click image, and then just browse and find it in my documents. Boom. Okay, so now I have my task cards ready for my students to use. Now that I have this task card, I can go up here and click on the 3 dots to duplicate it to the amount of frames that I would need, depending on the number of students I have. Okay, and when you duplicate the frame, they will all look the same. And the same for the template that you got from TPT or from other places as well. Another neat thing that you can do is you can also upload a tool that your students can use. For example, my students have been learning about how to measure angles. So, for example, just say I create an angle here, and I want my students to measure this angle. Okay? I can go on a search engine and search for the tool that I want to use. So we use a protractor to measure the angle, but it's a little bit tough when you have a couple kids online that may not have access to a protractor. I search for protractor with transparent background. Typically, it's transparent if the background has squares. So we go back here and then upload, and voila, now we have a protractor that you can use. So see here, I can turn and twist my protractor and I can actually measure the angle. So let's come back to our template over here. Once you have the amount of templates that you want, you can now share the link with your students, and you can click on share again, change it to anyone, and then edit to editor, and then click done and copy the link. Okay? Something to note. As of now, Google only allows for you to have 20 frames max on Jamboard. This is a bit of a problem, especially if you have more than 20 students, which most teachers usually do. I have 23 students right now. So what I do is I would go up here to the 3 dots. I would make a copy of the file where I already have my templates ready. And I like to name it Virtual Jamboard KWL, and then over here I'm gonna name it In Person. Okay, now I have 2 of the same files, but one is for in-person students and one is for virtual students. The system that we have in our classroom is that virtual students know to use the first link I post in the chat, and then my in-person students know to use the second link that I post. I also like to name my files so then when the students open up, they know if they're on the right file, if they're on virtual or they're in person. If you assign numbers in your classroom and your students know their number, then you can just assign them a number that matches the frame. There's so many different ways that you can do this. Another tip that I have for you is that although templates are really pretty and they're really awesome, don't underestimate the power of a blank Jamboard. Treat it like a piece of paper where anything is possible. Ask your students a question and let them show their understanding on the blank frame. You might be surprised to see what they come up with. I've used this many times because my students really enjoyed being able to use pictures from the internet and add it to their work, or attempting to draw on their device. As you can see, it takes very little prep time to set up Jamboard for your exit tickets, especially if this becomes a routine in your classroom. It also allows you to be very flexible if you have to change your exit ticket question last minute. These methods are not just limited to being used as exit tickets. You can use it to make thinking visible, check for understanding during mid-lesson, or as provocation at the beginning of your lesson. I hope that this video has been helpful to you and that it will encourage you to start using this easy, wonderful, and free tool in your classroom. Link to my blog post about Jamboard exit tickets and Jamboard management will be in the description box down below. Thank you so much for watching my video. Until next time, happy teaching.